So this is today is the third workshop in this 2-month-long series of hand-holding workshops with the help of Dr. Ritesh Kumar, Wetlands Asia, Wetlands International South Asia. So last two sessions we saw about wetlands. I mean, how to fill up brief documents in the first training. The second training we looked into. What did we look into in the second thing?
Health card.
The health card. And today we are going to look into how to prepare integrated management plans. As you all will appreciate, integrated management plans are also a requirement under wetland rules. We are supposed to prepare IMPs for all our wetlands. So till today, let me just read out the status table of the receipt of action plans and brief documents. So out of around 1,000 wetlands in Delhi, we got only 38 brief documents as on today. 38. So DD has submitted 5 documents. Are you hearing me, Ritesh ji?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So is Sonal ma'am here? Hello? Are we having Sonal Bhatt here? Sonal ma'am? Okay, I can see her, but okay. So we got 5 brief documents from DD till now, and then 3 from EDMC, East Delhi Municipal Corporation. Anybody from EDMC today? Jagdish Prasad ji? So we don't have EDMC today. They submitted 3 brief documents, and then we got 11 brief documents from Archaeological Survey of India, 18 from the Department of Forest, and 1 from IIT. As far as action plans are concerned, we are in a better situation as far as action plans is concerned. We received 270 action plans in the prescribed format of CPCP. So this action plan is in pursuance of Honorable NGT's order, and the brief document is a statutory requirement under wetland rules. And we need to submit this to the Ministry of Environment and Forests, as we all know. So we need to actually speed up this process, and I request all the water body agencies to kindly start preparing the remaining action plans as well as the remaining brief documents. This is a sincere effort with the help of Dr. Ritesh Kumar to help you wherever technically. I mean, we give you all the help to prepare these 2 crucial documents. So I welcome everyone to this session, 1-hour sessions, and I request Dr. Ritesh Kumar to kindly start this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jayachandran, and thank you once again for joining us for the third webinar. As was mentioned, we have walked the journey from preparing the brief document to doing a health assessment, and at some stage in time, we would like to know whether you have been able to prepare health plans, and in case there are any difficulties faced, we should devote some part of the webinar to discuss what difficulties you have and how can Delhi State Wetlands Authority, Dr. Jayachandran and his team and my team can help you do these works. Now, today we will be discussing the preparation of management plans, and also beforehand, the next session, an important one, will be on dimensions of wetland rules. So what do these rules mean for you? What is your role and responsibility? What do we expect from State Wetlands Authority? We will be discussing that important element also in the next meeting or so. It might take one more session. So that is the intention. And then one day, Dr. Jayachandran, we will keep it only for questions and answers. So we should hear some feedback and problems. Meanwhile, all presentations are now available. The recordings are available through a video YouTube channel. I presume, Dr. Jayachandran, this is being made available. But do keep on writing to State Wetlands Authority in case any assistance is required, whether good or bad. If you have been successful, let them know so that they're aware of their efforts. And if you are getting stuck, then also let them know so that they can help you out. So without further ado, I'll start the session on management plan. Now, the guidelines, the Ministry of Environment and Forest has recently released guidelines on how to prepare management plans. Now, these guidelines call for a very extensive 8-step procedure, which has been simplified into a 5-stage procedure in a recent discussion with knowledge partners of the ministry. So I'll walk you through these management plan, and at the end of the session, through Dr. Jayachandran, we will also share a model management plan which was recently approved for Kerala by the Ministry of Environment and Forest. This module was prepared by myself and Dr. Golden Quadros from Salim Ali Center for Ornithology. The basic purpose of this module is we will learn about how to develop the management plan, what are the principles of managing wetlands, how do you set up a management planning process. Then we discuss a stepwise method for developing the plan and how do you implement as well. So these are some 5 elements that we will deal today. Now, when we discuss wetland management, before getting into planning, let us differentiate what is wetland management. Management is operational decision making. So you will need to take decisions on how much money you require, what is it that you want to do, what is it that you will not be doing. It is different from governance element. So what Dr. Jayachandran is doing is setting up the governance framework, but he does not deal hands-on on wetlands management. Wherein when I see Lakshmi Narayan ji or Sonal Bhatt ji, you are people who have to take decisions on what should happen at each site. So while the Office of Delhi State Wetland Authority will set the broad framework on which you can act, or ministry can give you guidelines and resources, the actual implementation and design of management plan is very much in the domain of nodal agencies, authorities. So if IIT Delhi has a water body, then any operational decision on that water body has to be taken by IIT Delhi, and that is why you need to think a bit on what is it that you intend to achieve. And this thinking process is captured in a document which is called a management plan. So before you intend to do anything on the wetland, you have to put your thinking together in the form of a document which is called a management plan. Now, typically, a wetland management plan is thought that you need to comply with regulatory regimes, which is okay. That is a good objective. But it is also it serves several purposes. First of all, it tells all stakeholders on what is your intention and what they will achieve, what they will gain from the wetland, a healthy wetland. It helps establish baselines. It sets your management objectives clearly. So, what is it that you will achieve? And it is also a good conflict resolution tool. So, when different people have different opinion on the wetland, a management plan is able to convey what is it that we should be doing and why should we doing so. So, it is a good conflict resolution tool. So, beyond financing, a management plan has several purposes. So let us not look at management plan simply whether it is required in the law or not, which is an important element. But we should think as planners. Management plan is the most critical document that we will be dealing with in the process of management planning. What are the principles? Now, normally, we deal with wetlands as touch-me-not systems. So if you look at forest management, typically our approach has been that we draw a boundary and then within that boundary we control access, and we say that nature will take care of itself. With wetlands, the situation is slightly different. Wetlands need some marginal disturbance to be in the healthy state. When I say disturbance, it is like growing your hair. If you don't cut your hair will continue growing and you will be in a different shape. To maintain your natural character, you will need to continue harvesting some resources. So if there are fisheries in a wetland, if the fish is not harvested, the wetland will become putrefied. So you have to do certain things so that its character remains in the desired state. The water holding capacity is maintained, the level of pollution is not beyond something that ecosystem is not able to treat, and people's livelihoods are also dependent. So in an urban setting, you might see that there are certain people would like to use it as an amenity, as a recreation, you will have to take that into account as well as the goals of species and habitats. So, wetland wise use is a philosophy when we manage the needs of species, the ecological functions of water, if it is used for any purpose, that also is a part of management and also livelihoods. So, if you balance all three, the principle of wetland management is wise use. We call for a use which does not alter the wetland character. So any use is permissible if it does not fundamentally change the wetland into something else. So if you withdraw little bit of water which does not change the wetland into a reservoir, that is okay. If you harvest fish, if it does not convert a wetland into a fisheries, system, natural harvesting can be permitted. So this is the beauty of wetland management. You can accommodate several societal needs within the framework of wetland management. And we should recognize that wetlands are part of a landscape, so we cannot deal with a wetland only at the site level. So what is happening in the city is equally important. So when we design a management plan, we need to take care of the whole landscape in which the wetland is situated. And finally, we will need to balance sectoral interests. So, although one nodal department will be responsible for preparing the management plan, we should also understand what do other agencies want from this wetland. For example, if there is a Delhi Development Authority, now what is their vision for the? If tourism department is there, what is their vision of the department of the wetland? If there is forest department, we need to understand everybody's view, and then management plan should be a balance of all interests. You cannot say that since I am the nodal agency, only my views will prevail. Everybody's views are important because it is a societal asset. So we are the nodal agencies because the government wants clarity in operational decision making, but that does not give us a mandate to supersede the needs and objectives and visions of all stakeholders, including people who are living in and around wetland. So we should always remember this. We are trustees of wetland. We are not owners of the wetland. The owner still is the broader society, and we have been asked to prepare a plan. So with that in mind, we have to always remember that whatever we may do today will again need to be revised after some time. Nobody has perfect information. So we have to be continuously adaptive. So when you do certain intervention, we'll need to keep on monitoring it. And after a while, through the lessons of monitoring, we will have to revise our plan. So let us take an example. If you say, let's look at Rajokari wetlands. We have started treating waste, we have used certain vegetation, and then we keep on monitoring water quality. Now, after some time, if we realize that water quality is not up to the standard, kindly mute the mics. If you're not speaking, please mute the mics so that others are not disturbed. आप लोग अपने माइक्स को म्यूट कर लें अगर आप बोल नहीं रहे या अगर बोलना चाहते हैं तो आप इंटरवीन करें. Now, so agar Rajokari wetlands, so let us take an example of Rajokari wetlands. The purpose is to treat wastewater. If the water quality after monitoring does not turn out to be as desired, we will need to change either the plant combination or we will do something else. Right? So thereby we should be very conscious that whatever we do today, we will have to keep on monitoring and learning from management. No management is perfect. There will always be some flaws. We should be open to learning from management. Now, with this in plan, the first step, how do you start a management plan? First of all, we ask you to prepare the base document, the basic, what we call the brief information. The first stage is we start with delineating and mapping the wetland. So the wetland needs to be delineated. How much area are we looking at, and what is the wetland like? The second stage is we collect and collate information on different wetland features, and I'll talk about this in a while. Then we put in place a monitoring system, because before we start implementing management, we should have a monitoring system so that we can track whether my management is working or not. Then we do the interventions. We mobilize communities to bring out positive behavior. So much of the intervention is also about changing attitudes of people. If people's attitude remains the same, they will keep on dumping waste, they will keep on doing all nasty things around a wetland, and the management plan will fail. And finally, we'll have to ensure compliance. So any act is there. So wetland rules will apply, town and country planning acts will apply. So we'll have to ensure that compliance is there. And then any sectoral plan. So for example, Jayachandran, this is an important point for you. When the Delhi state prepares its disaster management plan, now you will have to ensure that wetlands are incorporated in disaster management plans, because tomorrow disaster management, people who are interested with disaster management, they will come and prepare an embankment around a wetland so that we are preventing flood. Now that doesn't mean that they have the right to do everything in the name of disaster
अब मेरे
management,
को कर दो,
because
मैं आगे पेश कर दूंगा.
in several wetlands, what happens, sectoral intervention done with intention of meeting one objective can be very harmful for the wetland. If you construct an embankment, that means water from adjoining catchment cannot reach the wetland and wetland will start drying. So this is the point wherein state wetlands authority become very pivotal in communicating what is the role of wetlands in different sectors. Now let's look into the first stage. We should identify our stakeholders. Who is it that will benefit or will be impacted from management of the wetland? And we say you classify, you list down your stakeholders in terms of two things. What is the degree of impact the stakeholder can create on the wetland, and what is the degree of influence? So suppose let us take a member, an elected member. Suppose we have a member of parliament in our constituency who is living around a wetland. So what is his influence? Very high, because he can talk about the wetland in the parliament, right? But can he influence the wetland condition? No. So he is an important person. I will have to. So if you look into your matrix, I will say my member of parliament has a high degree of influence, but low impact. So I will make use of their interest through area of management. So I'll talk to them and say, sir, my wetland is important. Can you ensure that we get more funds? But now let us look at a settlement, which is a housing society, which is dumping sewage on the wetland. Now let us look at their degree of impact. They can impact the wetland because all pollution will come from their housing society. But what is their influence? Possibly they have no influence. So herein my strategy will be to consult them. So you will have to prepare a list of all people, all government departments, NGOs, CSOs, and classify them on the basis of degree of impact and degree of influence, so that you know what is the strategy you will use to engage with different societies. So you will know your clientele, who is it that you are dealing with when you're preparing a management plan. Now, after having identified the stakeholders, we take 6 steps. We describe the wetland, we identify threats, we set management goals, we define how management will be implemented, we define what will be implemented, what specific actions, and then how much money and finances, where will this money come from. So these are 6 steps in any management plan. Let's look into it from each of these steps. Now, step 1. Now, when you look into your brief document, you have already collected this information. What is the location? Which district? Which is the nearest landmark? How much is the wetland area? What are the seasonal changes? Now, does the wetland look different in monsoon, and does the wetland look different in summer? If the inundation changes, what happens? Does the wetland become completely dry, or it becomes colonized with different kinds of vegetation? What are the major sources of water? Where does the water come from? Then let's talk about major outflow. Where does the water go? And then finally, who is the administration? Who is the responsible administration agency? Who is the owner of the wetland? Is it the government, or are there private pattas? So if I look into Yamuna floodplains, part of the wetland may have private pattas. I don't know. Who is the nodal department agency? Is it within a protected area? So suppose Kalindi Kunj could be a form of a protected area. but several of our wetlands will be outside. So you have to describe. All this information is already contained in the brief document. So that is the reason why we start with a brief document, so that you start thinking about your wetland. Now, this is how a wetland map is prepared. You take the most recent satellite image for a normal hydrological year. When I say normal hydrological year, so that rainfall is either not too high or too low. If it is too low, the wetland will appear very small. If it is too high, due to floods, wetland will appear very big. So for a normal hydrological year, you'll have to prepare a wetland. So this is one map. You can see different things in a wetland. So one, that there is a river coming in. So this is, you can see my cursor, there is a river coming in. Now these, slightly violet color, these are marshes. So these are plants here, right? Then there is floating vegetation around here, and then there is open water. So you can see different vegetation types. Now, what it should have, first of all, let us discuss the scale. If the wetland is of less than 100 hectares, which is the case for most of our wetlands, we'll have to prepare the wetland at 1:, map at 1:4,000 scale. That is the recommended scale. If it is bigger than 100 hectares, use 1:10,000 scale. Why do we recommend this scale? So that you are able to plot different information. You'll have to show, if you are trying to dredge an area, if you're trying to, build a canal. So you'll have to show those interventions in a map. Now, projection should be WGS 84, so any GIS person will tell you, so that maps are uniform. One stage, I was thinking that all the maps can be, converted into a digital information at in one stage. We'll be able to upload them into one system, so that all boundaries can be seen by any citizen. So that is for this reason we are saying that the digital wetland boundary should be submitted to the State Wetland Authority. Then you should also show what is the kind of habitat, whether it is, vegetated, where there is open water, you have to show. And then most important, show the connecting drainages. Where does the water come from and where does the water go? Your map should at least have these information, including major landmarks. So one example, this is an urban wetland from Manipur, and you can see different types of vegetation, open water. You can see names here, which are the villages, which is a town, which is a major road, which is the embankment. You can see in this map. So a good map is the beginning of a good management plan. Now, again, let's look back into your brief document. We have already written, why do we want to manage? What is the benefit that we are going to get? Are we getting wetland products? Is there hydrological significance? So my wetland is important for groundwater recharge, for water buffering, water quality improvement, or is there cultural value? So there is tourism, there are religious and cultural activities, or, we just like the wetland as it is. So a housing society might say that if wetland is in my background, the scenic beauty, the aesthetic beauty of the wetland is adding to the value of my society. You can say any of these and identify, because that will say, why do we want to conserve? But beyond what is there to the people, we should also speak about what is the kind of plant and animal life. So what is the recorded plant and animal life which is dependent on the wetland and which might disappear? So for example, Sanjay Lake, in Mayur Vihar, a lot of migratory birds come. So the value of managing Sanjay Lake is also for migratory birds. So we should say that in our management plan, that I need to put my wetland in a healthy state because it has lots of life, right? So all of this information you have already collected in brief document. You can pick it up and expand in the management plan. Then the second step is to say, why can you not maintain these benefits? What is the threat on the wetland? Now the threats can be broadly clubbed into four categories. One is, there is structural change. Either there is encroachment on the wetland, or people have drained the wetland or converted the wetland. So a wetland which is, wetland area has been constructed upon. Agriculture is happening around that wetland and it is permanent. So wetland area doesn't look like a wetland anymore. Or somebody in some, time has created a drain which takes water out, and wetland is of a lesser area. There could be physical regime change. So you might have not done anything inside the wetland, but you have changed the inflow or water outflow pattern has been changed, right? or there is some sedimentation happening. Salinity, so salinity will not apply here, but water is getting warmer. Some industry is, putting some effluent inside the wetland, so water is warmer, so that wetland, biota is affected. Extraction, so people are taking things out from the wetland beyond their sustainable level. So unsustainable harvest of fish, water, or even wetland soil. And finally, we are putting things inside the wetland which are harmful. So pollutants. In most of our wetlands, we are releasing pollutants. So untreated sewage, for example, or any invasive species has been added. Now, all of this information you have already collected in your brief document. It has to be expanded here. Now, after discussing the threats, then we set our management framework. So we have to first say what is the impact that you want to achieve? What is the goal? Why do you want to do management? And then what is the purpose of management? So I'll show you one example. This is from Himachal Pradesh. The goal is we maintain the wetland in a healthy state so that its ecosystem services and biodiversity values are maintained in the long run. So this is my goal. In Kalindi Kunj, I want the Kalindi Kunj wetlands to be healthy so that its values and benefits are sustained in the long run. The purpose could be that I want to make the region water secure. I want to sustain habitats of migratory birds, and I want to provide income generation opportunities based on wetland tourism. For Kalindi Kunj, my purpose could be that I want to maintain aesthetics of the landscape. I want to provide a recreational avenue to the settlements in and around, and possibly I want to put some education facilities for students around the wetland. So you will have to say your goal and purpose. This is what is called a framework. And then you set out your objectives. And this is where you need to put in more effort. Objectives are, each wetland will have certain features, its water, its vegetation. So the desired condition of that regime becomes your objective. So I want to keep my wetland inundated throughout the year. Water level should not go below this level, or it should not become vegetated beyond this level. So this is the objective statement, and it has to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Objectives may be related to habitat or species. It may be related to livelihoods, or it may even be related to governance. For example, I'll give you an objective related to wetland habitat, that I want to maintain the natural shoreline. So in Kalindi Kunj wetland, this is one good objective, that I do not want to convert it. The wetland shoreline should be as natural as possible. Or we want to maintain and enhance populations of species of high conservation value. In Sanjay Lake, I would say I want to maintain the population of migratory waterbirds. In Kalindi Kunj, I'll say I want to maintain and enhance population of species of migratory waterbirds. In livelihoods, we can say if there is fish harvesting, I want to allow fish harvesting at a non-declining level. So if fish is being harvested, if it is not declining, that means it is sustainable. Or I want to preserve cultural and spiritual value of wetlands. For institutions and governance, you can say I want to maintain compliance with existing rules and regulations. This is not an option. All management plans should say that compliance to any extant rules and regulations has to be maintained. But enhancing awareness of wetland values amongst communities is a very good objective. Now, having set your management objectives, you have to say, how will you measure your objective? So when I say maintenance of natural shoreline, the nature of shoreline itself becomes a performance indicator, and the measurement could be how much shoreline is maintained without any construction. That becomes my performance indicator. And this is where Jayachandran Sir, the State Wetland Authority, will use these monitoring indicators to assess performance. For example, when you say population of high conservation value species, we will need to put in a system to do species count. If I put in a target with related to water quality, for example, then there has to be a system of measuring biological oxygen demand, chemical oxygen demand, and to ensure that it is below certain threshold. So, for example, recreation value, the number of people who are coming inside the wetland. If you want to say, regulatory regime, how many violations have been there, we'll need to report that. We'll have to maintain a system. Awareness For example, how many communities have you seen taking actions on their own? So without government support, if people are coming together and planning, so okay, we will not allow people to, have nuisance gatherings in these wetlands. So they will keep, nuisance mongers out of the wetland. Now, I would say that is an important of an indicator of sensitized community. They want to protect these resources. So we'll have to record those. So before implementing anything, let us agree on how we will monitor our objectives, and this is where the state wetland authority will have a very crucial role in all management plans to check what kind of performance indicators have been agreed, and then every 6 months or every once in a year we will check those indicators to determine whether our management is working or not. For example, if water quality is not being maintained as per the desired threshold, that means our management plan is not working. If it continues for 2 years, all money is going down the drain, we'll have to change our strategy. For example, if you have agreed to, maintaining naturalness of shoreline, and suddenly you find a lot of constructions, that means our implementation of regulation is ineffective. Right? So we will have to determine how we will measure before doing something. And then when you determine your objective, you can do a simple check. All your objectives should either be able to address one or more ecosystem services, biodiversity, or threats. There should be no threat, no ecosystem service, or no biodiversity value which is not addressed by an objective. Right. So suppose you have a lot of biodiversity in a wetland, but your objectives do not talk about biodiversity. That means your management plan is incomplete. If you have fishing happening in your wetland and if you don't have objective related to fisheries, your management plan is incomplete. Now, this is a tool. This is a simple tool. This is a simple tool for Delhi State Wetland Authority to evaluate the quality of your management plans. Right. So Jayachandran ji, this is one tool that somebody can compile, and they will check. Okay, you have said that these are the ecosystem services in your brief document. These are the objectives, your management plan, but they don't match. If they're not matching, either the brief document needs to be updated, or we need to update our management plan. So all these documents need to talk to each other in one way or other.
Yes.
Now, finally, you have to before also start thinking on which department will coordinate implementation. Who will do what? Who will you involve in implementation? Who will do research? Who will do monitoring? How will you coordinate intersectorally? So, for example, if there are 3 agencies, how will you coordinate? Will you create a coordination committee, or will you ask, Office of Dr. Jayachandran to convene these meetings? So you'll have to decide it beforehand. And then how will you involve communities? For example, if you're resident welfare associations, now how will they be involved? You'll have to think about it. Right. So this is about defining the institutional arrangement. And then the last, normally we take this as the first thing. Let us decide what do we do. Now, in management planning, we recommend that you start thinking of actual interventions only at the end. Once you have decided why you are doing it, then you decide what is to be done. Now, nature of intervention are essentially of 2 kinds. One is a reactive intervention. So suppose there is something wrong happening in a wetland, you react to that problem and say that I will, solve this problem. For example, if there is sewage being dumped into a wetland, the reaction could be that I will intercept the sewage and treat the sewage before it comes into a wetland. This is what I'll call it as a reactive intervention. A proactive intervention is you start doing something which will ensure that wetland is healthy in the long run. This is called about indirect drivers. For example, when you create a wetland demarcation, you are actually impacting encroachment. If you have a good wetland map which is delineated on ground, so if you have boundary pillars on your wetland, nobody can encroach in your wetland. Now that is a proactive investment. It will ensure that wetland does not degrade in future. Reactive is some problem that you are addressing now. Proactive is something that you're looking forward in future. So a balance of reactive and proactive investments will help you define a good management plan. Now, any management plan can be worked around in 5 components: wetland catchments, water management, species and habitats, livelihoods, institutions, and governance. Now, the dark blue color are what is I call reactive interventions. For example, when we talk about plantation, aided regeneration, small scale engineering in the catchment, we call it it's a reactive. This will control silt loading into your wetland. But if you talk about sustainable agriculture, or if you talk about catchment scale planning, which is a much bigger, that is a proactive intervention. Now, in water management, enhancing inflows. In most of our wetlands of Delhi, the inflow is in the form of sewage, right? Sewage from housing societies, as well as some rainfall accumulation. Now, that sewage needs to be treated in some ways. Either you use a plant based method or some mechanism so that you receive treated water. How do you regulate outflows? So outflows need to be regulated. You can also use technologies of constructed wetlands. So one of these days, one of the webinars post the next, we will talk about constructed wetlands. How can we use constructed wetlands for improving water quality? Now, if you start integrating your waste treatment in the entire sewage management system of the locality, that is what I'll call as proactive investment. In habitat conservation, this is where forest department has a lot of experience in situ conservation. How do you create habitats for birds? How do you manage invasive species, or how do you protect critical areas? We could also think about economic utilization. So water hyacinth is a common problem. There are several models wherein water hyacinth can be harvested and prepared into handicraft material that will also give livelihoods to people. So you can bring in those interventions as well. Now, in livelihoods, if there are people dependent, now this component will not be very relevant to Delhi wetlands, except Yamuna wetlands, our Yamuna floodplains. How do you provide additional income generation opportunities so that people are weaned away from depending solely on wetlands? Can we promote sustainable fisheries? So there is always a scope of using wetlands for some production, aquatic vegetation based, or sustainable fisheries, which also harvest nutrients. But in the long run, how do we create a behavior change program for these? How do we delineate wetlands? How do we create nodal agencies, surveillance and monitoring? At times, some wetlands can also have their own interpretation centers. So big wetlands such as, Yamuna floodplains or Kalindi Kunj, they can have, or Okla also has a small interpretation center. You can also think of putting in place a local interpretation center so that a student who comes there is able to understand what is this wetland, how does it function, and what are the values and benefits of this wetland. So that is also a basis of creating a behavioral change communication. So normally you can think around these 5 components in your action plan. There is a list of activities, but you can also, this is only a recommended framework. You can also change this to your advantage. And finally, you will have to do a budgeting. So for budgeting, if you need consultants, if you need to, let out, do subcontracts, travel, infrastructure, meetings, consumable, publications, audits, you will have to create a budget for 5 years. So we recommend that every management plan is prepared for 5 years, and then you do a projection, a budget projection, so that we identify how much money do we need to implement the management plan. And after having done this, where will this money come from? Now, the money can come from in several ways. One is there are several central government schemes. So Dr. Jayachandran was talking about putting these proposals to the ministry. Now, if you look at the ministry's own program of National Program for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystems, that has avenues. But also, for example, Jal Shakti has a repair, renovation, and restoration of water bodies scheme. You can easily, since we are a part of the Ganga Basin, all these projects can be funded through Ministry of Jal Shakti. Similarly, MOUD can provide monies for construction of waste treatment infrastructure. MOFCC also has integrated development of wildlife habitats in case these are protected areas. But biodiversity boards can be a source of funding. Ministry of Agriculture has schemes on fisheries and agriculture. So there are a number of avenues from which monies can be drawn. Science and technology can also provide funding for research and monitoring. Now, this is where I think this part should be dealt with Jayachandran sir, your office, so that we tell them where does the money come from. But normally, if you write a big management plan, the money never shows up. So think small, think moderate, and think within your capacities. DDA, I was with Sonal Bhattji in one of her field visits to Vasant Kunj, and they said that they have resources, internal resources for funding the restoration program. Now, but we will have to spell out so that state wetland authority is clear that at least for this wetland, the restoration monies will come from DDA. If you need external resources, then state wetland authority will have to write to different ministries to arrange the funds, right? So that is where state wetland authority becomes a very important institution. Now, how should the plan be written? We recommend not more than 10 pages of all of this information. This might look a lot, but if you write nicely, not more than 10 pages. Section 1 on wetland description with one map should not be more than 3 to 4 pages. Section on major threats, 3 by 4th page. This is not 3 to 4 page, 3 by 4th of a page or 500 words. Management objectives, half a page. Institutional arrangements, 1 page. Management components, up to 2 pages. That's it. And then you put your references and one endorsement letter. So endorsement letter, first endorsement will come from the preparing agency, that they have consulted their department and this is the view of the department. And then finally, when it is being put up to the ministry, this endorsement letter will come through the wetland authority. So this is Dr. Jayachandran. Once you have read and vetted the management plan, once you have presented the management plan to your authority, the authority will have the final say on what kind of management plan is being approved. So you will issue an endorsement letter under your letterhead, and then it becomes submitted to the respective agency. Finally, implementation. Now, remember, we are just doing a framework plan at this stage. In your implementation plan, first 6 months, you take to detail the action plan. So once you've decided to, suppose your management plan says that we'll put up a sewer network around the wetland. Now, first 6 months, detail it out. Formalize implementation arrangements, and if any committees have to be constituted, you will have to issue the necessary government orders. Now take the first 6 months, inform everyone. Management plans, although these are government documents, but without information to all stakeholders, the spirit of management plan will be lost. So always, I think, and this is where again I'll say, Dr. Jayachandran, we should have a web portal wherein all management plans should be uploaded and comments should be invited. People should know what is happening, and put your monitoring system in place in the first 6 months. We suggest that all 5-year plans should be broken into annual plans with activities, and then you track ecosystem health. So we did a session on ecosystem health cards. So every 2 years, you do a health card to say whether your wetland condition is improving or not. And finally, a state wetland authority is entrusted with the job of doing periodic management effectiveness review. So that was all, Dr. Jayachandran, in this session. One final word of caution. Although the management plans for all wetlands within your boundaries, that means within the jurisdiction of Delhi State Wetland Authority, will be ultimately the responsibility of Delhi State Wetland Authority. Interstate wetlands, for example, we have this Najafgarh Jheel with Haryana, wherein we share our borders with Haryana. That will be assisted by the Ministry of Environment and Forest. I believe they are already in communication with you. So for interstate wetlands, the role of ministry becomes pivotal. But for rest of the wetlands which are within your boundaries, have to be done under the leadership of Delhi State Wetland Authority. We should also remember that whether wetland rules apply or not, management plans need to be prepared. So wetland rules, wetlands can be notified only when wetlands are natural, human-made wetlands, tank systems need not be notified under wetland rules. But preparing a management plan is mandatory. Now, you could also think that whether you will need management plans for all 1,000 wetlands or whether you want to prioritize through some formula and say that we need management plans for 20 wetlands or 30 wetlands which are highly degraded. Right? In most cases, if the wetland is not degraded, then you don't need an active management plan. You just need to monitor. You don't need extensive documentation. So I'll suggest, Jayachandran Saab, that we agree that say like 20 to 30% of your 1,000 wetlands, you choose which require systematic management intervention, which are in high state of degradation, which have high threats, and they actually need restoration efforts. So I'll request all the departments, and I think this is a decision, Dr. Jayachandran, you will need to take, because management plan is also a very resource intensive exercise. It needs a lot of thinking, a lot of people need to talk to each other. So I don't recommend that you attempt to develop 1,000 management plans in one go. Take it step by step. So let's take like every department, every agency gives you a list of top 10 wetlands or top 10%, and then we first finish those in the first phase, then go into second phase, then go into third phase, and so on. So let's take it in a phased manner. Any assistance that you may need from Wetlands International, if you want to repeat this session, we are happy to do it again with lots of questions. So this is what we had to share, Dr. Jayachandran, today. Happy to take any questions if there are any. You can open.
So how do you propose to actually the what body should go about in preparing the brief documents first, or brief documents should be for all the wetlands, right?
Absolutely. Brief documents are mandatory, because once you do a good brief document, your 30% of management plan is already done. Right?
So on the basis of the brief documents, we understand whether we need to prepare a management plan or not, right?
Yes. So brief document, if it tells you that threats are not very high, right? Or if the wetland is in a good condition, might be you can put it in second phase. The first phase wetlands, you should say that if all wetlands which have high threats and high state of degradation, and including, so normally what we do is we take the wetland scorecard, the health card, right? And we take the brief document. So if the health card shows that they are in low health, so C minus or D or E category, and your threat score is also very high, I will take them as priority. So this is what Ministry also does. So they will take your brief document and health card, and on basis of which they will tell you which wetland should be prioritized. So that is one approach you can also adopt. But for that, for each wetland, we will need a quick health card also.
Yeah.
So that you can take it.
Yeah. And after prioritizing, you prepare your management plan.
Yes.
And then you go for notification.
So notification, as I will talk in the next session, notification can only be done for some types of wetlands. So wetland rules will not apply in all wetlands. There are only natural wetlands, and there are certain categories. I'll talk about those in the next meeting. Those wetlands can be notified, but notifying is only one step. Management has to be done. Whether or not notified, management will remain responsibility of Delhi State Wetland Authority. So the first stage was at the level of Delhi State Wetland Authority. The list of wetlands needs to be prepared, which you have already done. So this is your list of wetlands. Within that list, now you will have to say that I need to prepare a management plan for say 10% of the wetlands.
Based upon the brief documents and health card.
Upon brief documents and health cards.
Okay. So this is somehow the flow happens, right? You prepare a list first, and then you prepare the brief documents for brief documents and health card for all. And on the basis of the health cards and brief documents, you prioritize and prepare management plans.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then comes the notification amongst the managed wetlands. We need to understand which are the wetlands that needs to be notified for regulation, right?
So notification need not be tied to management plan. Notification can happen as and when it falls under wetland rules. So if it is under the wetland rules, it has to be notified immediately, because the brief document will tell you already the required information to be issued for notification. So that happens simultaneously.
That is a long way ahead. No? So today, till now we have seen only brief documents, health cards, and the management plans.
Yeah.
Right?
And next week we will discuss the wetland rules, the regulatory aspect of it.
Okay. Okay. And
So
that
that-
would apply only for notified wetlands.
Yes, that will apply for notified wetlands, but there are some guidelines within wetland rules which will apply to all wetlands. So that will be an important session so that everybody is familiar on what tools and instruments are we dealing with. So at end of the day, any wetland, whether notified or not, becomes your responsibility, Dr. Jayachandran. So any government agency, they will look on to you on what has happened to that wetland. So you will need a robust setup for knowing where your wetlands are and what is their condition. Rules is just one, one tool in your battery of tools that you can protect. But there are several, some DDA parks, for example, will have lots of constructed wetlands. They need not be notified. They might not have high levels of threat. But if something is wrong happening to those wetlands, we need to discuss with DDA and say, what is it? What is your restoration plan? In case they need support, you will have to bridge them to an agency which can help them identify what is the kind of.
Great. Yeah.
So I'll stop sharing my screen now and I'll look into the chat window.
There's some questions in the chat box.
Yeah, let me quickly. So chat box. Can you see the chat box already? Oh yes, I can see chat. So the stakeholders to be involved in management, exactly, man. So you can see Dushyantji, can you please share this web resources? So Dushyant will do so. In some of the projects, stakeholders are already involved, so these stories can be shared. So this is a comment from Sonalji. Very nice. Then can you please share some experience on Kalindi Kunj wetlands or its health card? So Kalindi Kunj brief document has already been shared, and health card, I'll share it immediately after this workshop. So that will be done. Are there any?
The
Please
brief
share.
document of Kalindi Kunj have been shared with us.
I will check. I will check.
Okay.
If not, I'll do it once again. Good morning. Can you please share the link of YouTube of previous webinars on WhatsApp group? So this is for you, Jayachandran sir. So
Yeah.
YouTube.
First webinar, we got the videos of the second webinar. First webinar, we didn't get Ritesh.
Okay, I'll check. I'll check and re-forward them. Yeah. So I don't see there are much comments. We will appreciate if there are for everyone. We will appreciate if you give us feedback on how do you like the content. Do you want more examples? Do you want less of speaking, more of engagement? Do you want a question and answer session? So that will help us prepare well. So this is also for the first time we are doing such kind of webinars. After this, we'll be running one for Tamil Nadu state on wetland rules. So following your example, different states are also inspired to do webinar series. We'll be doing one for Bihar as well. So kindly let us know your feedback. That will also allow us to improve if you can prepare the materials better. The presentation and the video, Jayachandran sir, I'll send you the recording link right away. And also I'll share one, model management plan which was approved by the ministry. Now that is for a coastal wetland. So don't go by the nature of the wetland, but only see how sections have been written and how extensive does the document need to be. Right, so I'll share that immediately. So should we close this session now? Jayachandran sir, we had promised 1 hour. We are nearly.
Yeah. Can we ask people to say something? Is there anyone have any doubts to ask here?
लक्ष्मी नारायण जी, कोई डाउट? कैसा लग रहा है आपको? मैनेजमेंट प्लान बनाएंगे अब हम आपके साथ?
मैनेजमेंट प्लान आपके साथ शुरू किए थे हमने
जी
5 वेटलैंड हमने सिलेक्ट की हुई है
जी जी
उस पे एक बार आपसे जरा मिलके थोड़ा करना पड़ेगा,
बिल्कुल
मतलब उसको कंप्लीट करके
जी
कंप्लीट आपके साथ कर लेंगे तो बाकी भी कर
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
तो आपसे एक टाइम ले लेंगे हम,
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल लक्ष्मण जी, कभी भी।
आपके
सो
साथ कवरिंग कर लेते हैं, उसके बाद बात।
बिल्कुल, कोई भी डिपार्टमेंट कभी भी, वी हैव एन ऑफिस इन डिफेंस कॉलोनी, जयचंद्रन साहब बैठते हैं इन सेक्रेटेरिएट, so both the offices are open to receive visitors. Any assistance is required, kindly let us know, it will be our pleasure.
So we will definitely be sharing the presentations, the videos. I will share the video link of all the YouTube link for all the videos, and then we'll also share model brief documents and model management plans, as well as a model health card also. And Ritesh?
Yes, welcome.
Yeah. And the regarding NGT monitored action plan, what can we do about that? But
So,
because it's quite different from what we are preparing doing now, right?
so ministry encourages a more holistic view of management. It is very
Understand.
intensive.
Understand.
For NGT monitored action plan, even your identification of water bodies, the threats, and your brief documents will do the job. So if our threats are listed, might be we can agree on what kind of immediate actions that can be taken without going to a rigor of writing the longest document. We can identify those actions, and that can be through an executive order. So
Yeah.
different states, what they're doing is they're also doing an executive order. So these are the things that are permitted, and these are the things that are not permitted in a way.
Yeah.
Full stop. And these then become generic guidance documents for all departments concerned. So that can be done at your end. You can issue an executive order and say that this is what needs to be done, and that can be your NGT monitored action.
Because we are receiving more action plans and brief documents.
That's fair. We'll also appreciate if these copies are forwarded to us, so that we also get a handle of what does it look like.
Yeah,
and are
sure.
able to give a good opinion.
Sure. So shall we wind up then?
Yes. Over to you, Dr. Jayasundar.
So thank you, everyone. Is there any comments, please, from any of the participants? Okay. So thank you, everyone, for participating in this third webinar of this 2-month-long series. And thank you, Dr. Ritesh Kumar, for your wholehearted support to this scheme of handholding all the agencies. And I hope that we start preparing brief documents, because as we understand today, brief document is just a first step. There's a long way to go, right? So it's very important to have this preliminary analysis in the form of a brief document, so that we understand what we can do regarding this wetland. So request everyone to start preparing your brief documents and start showing some progress in submission of brief documents, so that we understand it. Yes, this particular initiative is effective in management or in whatever, in conservation of these wetlands. So please kindly at least try to submit some more brief document before the next meeting. Otherwise, we will be so discouraged that despite having so many sessions, we didn't have not even a single extra brief document from any of the agencies, right? So on that count, thank you so much. Kindly engage yourself in preparation of these documents, and let's do it really good. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ritesh Kumarji. Thank you so much. And meet you next Wednesday at the same time.
Sure.
Thank you.